So, if I were to roll shards, it would be pretty difficult to pull away from getting Gibraltars.
Yes.
And this is things
That's your
we've said in the
main.
past.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a main, you should really do that.
Oh no, there's another squad attacking.
Question of the day is an heirloom for the holidays. Since it's Christmas and as of the release of the episode, uh, we haven't gotten heirlooms on PC. So the question is going to be, if you were to get an heirloom, which one would you get? Let's talk about them a little bit. People really want to hear our opinions on all of them and kind of get some sort of rankings. I don't think we're going to rank them from like best to worst because we like them all in some way, shape, or form. But what do you think? What's your first impression?
So, if I were to roll shards, it would be pretty difficult to pull away from getting Gibraltars.
Yes.
And this is things
That's your
we've said in the
main.
past.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a main, you should really do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just practical because it's
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to see the most. But more importantly, if you try to do something flashy and do something like a Mirage heirloom, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably going to really regret it because you won't play a whole lot of Mirage unless Mirage is your main. Um,
But even if you always end up regretting it if you go to ranked grind.
yeah,
Like that's the
you're
other
gonna
thing.
regret it, and that's what you don't want to do because they're
Mm-hmm.
so rare and so
Mm-hmm.
awesome that if you get something so cool, you want to be able to see it. So I'd have to go with Gibraltar.
Okay, well, outside of Gibby though, which one's the coolest to you? Is if you couldn't get Gibraltar, how about that? If you couldn't get
Mhm.
Gibraltar, or you got two for whatever reason, what's number two? Because looking at the list, I mean, I could see you saying Rampart if you wanted to go with like a second main, but I'm curious as to if there's another one that just stands out as being the coolest to you.
Yeah, I mean, Rampart really speaks to me because I
Mm-hmm.
love bubblegum and I like Rampart a lot, but it really is just a wrench. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it isn't a home run. And I wish they could have done a little bit more in the design um, to make it cooler. Like, you could even make it a cool little like paintball gun in and of itself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more or more tools and sparky stuff because
Yep.
it's a little too simple. But if it couldn't be Gibraltar, we've talked about Bloodhound just being such a clean, awesome heirloom. But coolest in terms of design, I think Octane's is really, really cool. Just it ties in the character, it ties in the lore.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool on the inspecs, and it's a blade, but it's a really cool blade. So I really like Octane's heirloom from
Yeah.
a coolness standpoint.
I I two of my favorites are ones that people actually don't tend to like. I really do love Mirages and Watsons. I love the
Mhm.
uniqueness that comes with them. That's something I really do look for in an heirloom. And yeah, those aren't my most played legends, and I don't know if I would end up pulling the trigger on them, but I just need to give them a shout out because I really do think they're cool. If I'm choosing one, it is hard for me because I don't have a well-defined main on this list that has an heirloom. I play so much Valk right now, essentially, that I don't have a lot of time for other folks. So when I go to choose it, I do have to look at the coolness a little bit more. And I think the one, like, I think a dark horse and a sleeper, one that I would probably end up grabbing as of right now, and maybe it's the Titanfall nerdiness in me, but the Bangalore pilot knife, I really enjoy playing her now, which is a big switch up that came this season. And I do love that heirloom connecting back to Titanfall. And hopefully we see the story of it in the upcoming stories from the Outlands and it gets even cooler. But it's a good one.
It's a cool one, and she has really cool inspects of kind of juggling it around, kind of like Octane's heirloom, but with a knife instead
Mm-hmm.
of a butterfly kind of deal. The other cool one that I think that I would never buy ever for ethical reasons is Revenants. It is
Ethical
really cool.
reasons.
I'm not gonna submit to the dark side and play Rev, but I think from an heirloom coolness standpoint, the scythe is pretty epic, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool. Just the inspects are pretty neat, but just the design of it, it's so large and scary. And Caustic's hammer is cool, but if I were to go for one of the two, I'd definitely go with Revenant's, um, just because it's epic.
Who do you think's at the bottom of the barrel? Like right now? Like what's the one that you're like, even if you mained them, you're not really sure if you would buy them? The one that stands out for me is Pathfinder. Like the boxing gloves, one, they're like the only heirloom that actually somewhat blocks your screen a little bit while you play. The animations are okay, but the inspects like nothing special or anything, and they're just boxing gloves in the end, kind of. They're not like super like flashy or anything.
Yeah, those earlier heirlooms that don't have the same sort of design finesse are definitely on the chopping block. I think Pathfinders is pretty cool. I'm sad that it
Okay.
gets such a bad rap, um, just because it's unique. It's not a blade, and it speaks
Yes,
to his
true.
lore, and they're kind of cool and cartoony. I think the digital like animations that reflect what's on his chest is a pretty cool design choice. But I think the bottom are
It's a
probably
tough
between
list.
those originals. Like Lifelines is pretty undervalued, I'd say.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's a fair point. I do like the OG Wraith one. It's the only heirloom I had on Xbox, just because I think it's got the classic, like it's got the nice lightning animation, and I do like the inspecs, even though people are kind of begging for more. But I think spinning it around and how you're able to run with it and constantly change directions. Plus, it's the OG knife at least. Like there's lore behind that in a way that there's not really with the shock sticks per se.
Kinda, yeah.
Hmm.
I think that Wraiths is pretty dang cool just because of the melee animation that I don't think gets
Portal.
enough credit.
Hmm.
Every time you melee, there's a little mini portal at the tip of the knife, and that is epic. I like that blows. That's way cooler than spinning, if you ask me. So I think that's really awesome. Um, but yeah, those are some cool heirlooms. What do you think? Which heirloom do you think has the best inspects? If you were to
Are we
discuss that,
talking like the generic inspect or like the rare ones? Like when you
all of
get
them.
that. Okay.
Yeah, like
I th- like the one that I like stands out to me and would be the absolute like my favorite one to get a kill with would be the rare Mirage pork chop, like melee slash inspect kind of thing. But more in general, like if we're just talking like purely inspects, Gibraltar seeing the shield, I think that's really cool. Like no other heirloom does anything like that, and that's awesome to me.
it's really cool. I have to agree. I think that Gibraltar probably takes the cake in terms of our opinion on the best inspect. Um, Mirage, I think, also has across the board good inspects.
True,
I think
true.
it's really cool how
Pull
there's
the
like
cord.
confetti and
Mm-hmm.
kind of all these sort of components that come out of the trophy. I think it's very, very undervalued in terms of the inspects. But I have to say, another one that people seem to be disappointed with, Watson's Heirloom has really cool inspects.
Mm-hmm.
Having a creature Tamagotchi is really, really cool to, interact with as an heirloom. And then having the Nessie like
So
doll come
cool.
alive and it's
Mm-hmm.
huge. That's awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is a really cool heirloom, and it's sad to me that people are disappointed. And the sentiment seems like, oh, this is our lot in life. Watsons better be happy with anything. This is a really cool heirloom. It's unique. It's got electricity on the melee, great
Mm-hmm.
inspects, Nessie galore. Like, this is better than you think.
Boom! Whole squad down.
Hey, brother, not today. Maybe tomorrow.